What would handball be without you? Without the guys out there that make this sport so lovable and so enjoyable? Basically nothing. And that's why we decided to dedicate today's episode of This Bin We Talk Handball to the fans, and we want to know what's the difference between a Balkan handball fan and a Danish one. The answers, we got them for you in the podcast. So enjoy the episode.
Ball across to Dylan Nahi, double in flight. Oh, what a start!
Into the net.
She does it again. Yes.
And Vilstrup are the champions of Europe. To come up with something here. She has a game. Surprise the keeper. What a comeback!
Ladies and gentlemen, you know the drill. In the meantime, it is finally time to talk handball again. And today's episode, it's about you. It's about the fans. It's about the guys that my fellow co-hosts actually do and love the sports for. And we'll start it here with the man where everything goes wrong whenever he enters the arena. He's the incarnation of the jinx. Ladies and gentlemen, Martin Vilstrup, how's it going?
Well, that's why I'm keeping myself away from the arenas. But no, we all remember the final of the European Championship and the other one. But they're actually going good for the ones.
Yeah, you couldn't ruin that one. Denmark was too good.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. No, it's going well. As the one who's watching video, they can see that I actually got a little bit of sun in my head, which is pretty rarely in Denmark. So it's going in the right direction. Can't complain.
Yeah, so
Can't complain.
With the beach summer just around the corner, how's your mood going? Is it going up? Are you starting to feel excited already?
Yeah, I am. I am a lot. Going to in the end of April. I'm going to Croatia to play a tournament there this upcoming weekend. Easter weekend that we're having. We're having the first national team camp in Aarhus in Denmark, and then it just starts off from there. I don't believe I have a weekend off from. Is it the next weekend again, and then until end of July or something like that? So yeah, looking forward to it.
Then give us a little outlook. How's your schedule looking like? So we heard about Croatia. What are the other highlights that are coming up this summer?
Well, then the Danish beach tour is starting as well, where we need to play some tournaments in Denmark, and then we're going to Sweden also. With all this said, I assume or hope that I'm going as well. It means that I need to be in the team, but at least the team is going. If not, I'm going to Sweden, and then we have other tournaments out in Europe that we need to play with the club team also abroad, and then there will be the World Championship also in Croatia this year in Zagreb. So a lot of things is coming up.
Exciting times around the corner just for you. So we're happy for you, and of course we're keeping our fingers crossed here. And then we move it over to the woman who isn't just known by fans all around the world, she is loved by fans all around the world. Of course, we're talking about Andrea Lekić. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm very good. And you?
Yeah. So far, so all right. As the sun is coming out in Denmark, it is doing likewise in Düsseldorf in Germany. That's where I'm located. Ready for the summer, ready for the madness around.
But I have one question. I'm a bit suspicious about Martin's color. Is it solarium or it's sun outside?
No. It's natural. It's natural, Andrea. You probably don't believe in me. But sometimes I also ask my parents, because I never took a DNA test, how can my skin color look that good when I should be half Spanish or Portuguese? But I don't know.
That's a bit strange. That's a bit strange.
Danish
because usually vitamin D in Denmark is not on the highest point.
No cheating here. No cheating.
Jesus, I look too white, or the light is too good here.
No, you look perfectly fine. But as you're talking about that, people are wondering what's going on in your life right now. So how's the former World Handballer of the Year spending her time right now?
I mean, working more than I was a handball player, definitely. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, going well. A lot of things to do in the federation, a lot of generation to follow. Many of them are just stepping out from the junior level to the senior level, trying to contribute to their development, trying to establish the system around them, and basically trying to be next to them for whatever they need. Because, I mean, that's the goal. If we want to have the results in the future years, we must copy some of the best nations, like the guy who is sitting with us today. So
Germany, yeah, of course.
Yeah, for Germany, of course. This we know, but then Denmark, of course. So yeah, I mean, indeed enjoying in this process. Of course, it takes a lot of time, honestly, really a lot. So I always say those stories when they say you're the happiest when you play. Even though sometimes we are like tired of everything, it's a pure truth. That's the most beautiful, as you said. Now we're gonna talk about fans, but that's the most beautiful part, I think, of our lives.
100%. But then on the other hand, how much does it give to you now that you can still work with the young players?
Very much. I mean, it fulfills everything. It's not easy when you stop your career, but then I have some new goals to chase, which is beautiful, and I find it very contributing to handball here. And I always wanted to give some contribution handball. I have had my academy working with the kids and everything. So I think since last 10 to 12 years, I have been always involved in some sort of developing of the young players. But it's not only about young, it's also about the senior level players, which are also, let's say, stepping up year by year. So, I'm truly enjoying and I love my job. Definitely. Only what I miss, it's, let's say, a sort of adrenaline that I had on the court together with the fans also.
Yeah, understandable. Last question into that direction. So the next Serbian golden generation is coming, and it carries the signature of you.
I really hope it doesn't have to carry my signature at all. Honestly, I would be just happy if I can just help in development in the upcoming years. But I do truly believe, honestly, that there are really some nice young talented players, but in order to get a golden generation, call it like that, they also have to develop and work on themselves. It's not enough only to get the support from the federation. It has to be a sort of awareness which they have to develop throughout the years, what I have to do in order to be successful.
But in the name of handball, they probably couldn't have a better mentor around other than the legend that is with us here today. But yeah, we want to jump into a topic that you just touched slightly with the adrenaline that is missing. Because my first question into your direction, Andrea, when entering the arena, when did you realize that that day would be fire, that the atmosphere in the arena would be fire? Is it the smell when entering the arena already, some whistles at warm-up already, or does it get to you in the tunnel when there's the pressure rising?
You have the moments which are slowly lifting since the moment you open your eyes. Then you're starting to be a bit anxious in a positive way, I would say, because with the years, you learn how to handle these emotions. Indeed, that's I think that's very, very important. You don't have to learn it to handle it, not to feel it, but to control it, not to be overwhelmed with that. But the moment I think where you feel the most is the moment on the presentation, when you are in the tunnel before you go out on the court, and when you feel really the stands screaming.
Mm-hmm. And do you recall a game where it was the most intense feeling that you ever had? So atmosphere-wise, what was the most intense game that you ever played?
Of course, playing at the home court, 22,000 people in the city where you were born, the World Championship final was complete madness. Even though we have some kind of rituals to sing as a team, and I think it helped us a bit to go through these emotions going into the tunnel before the match. It was sort of like religion, doing this kind of things, and I think that helped us to be in the place, in the focus, not being that overwhelmed by the stands and the fans. But definitely that was the insanely intense moment for me.
What were those rituals that you had as a team?
I mean, we had a specific songs. I mean, it was like a superstitious moment, I think, which team had, and then the specific songs and the order of the songs, even the way how we danced before the matches, screaming on each other. I would say also that, not screaming on the opponent team, of course. I mean, even though we had Dragana Cvijić screaming on the opponent team, also we used her power in that. But I mean, we were really a good group in that moment, and everything functioned extremely good. So you need to find the way how to control that moment.
And I mean, Martin, for you, listening all that, well, with the Balkan mentality behind it, a World Championship final at home, there's probably nothing better you could ever achieve, right?
No. Only, sorry, Andrea, was also to win it maybe would have been the most amazing.
Of course, that would be insane.
Also, but,
I agree. No, I agree.
But this was the first time I actually hoped that Andrea was bursting into singing, once she said that they were singing before the games, and you asked what kind of songs they were singing. No, but of course it's a huge topic, and for me it's also, when we're speaking about fans, it's interesting that they also, one of the best experience that Andrea had, obviously she had many and she needed to choose one, but there's a difference between national teams and also club teams, and the way that can you say the fan culture is within those different teams, if we can put it like that, whether it's a club team or a national team. But yeah, world championship final at your home ground, and yeah, I think there are worse things in life, I would like to try that at least, and now all of us got a taste of it, what it meant with the European Championship on the men's side with Denmark, and by the amount of times that I got goosebumps, I can only imagine how it would be, on the court.
But I mean, the topic that Martin just opened, the national team versus on club level, do you feel a difference there in Serbia?
We do feel difference in Serbia because our fans cheering for the national team are not realistic in order when they're searching for results. Because usually they're not following much players, only of course handball fans, truly handball fans I'm talking, who are following the players throughout the season. But when it comes to the national team, they always expect that you're going to win even against Denmark, Norway, everyone else, no matter ranking. This is not important, and it's hard for them to understand that in one way when they don't know the handball stage. For example, we played against Faroe or we played against Iceland. They would say like, what are those teams? Because they don't know the culture, they don't know the results and these kind of things. We are the country of basketball and football, no? Mostly, and water polo, of course, or something like that. But in handball, they always want you to win. So the big difference is that they're not that realistic. And it's a thing of identity here to cheer for the national team. But I have to say, to point out one thing which I'm really not satisfied. I'm talking about the fans for the national team. I like the culture, for example, Denmark, Germany. People are getting dressed, getting ready for the matches. You can see the national, t-shirts, whatever, the colors of their faces, different way of dressing. But in Serbia, it's not like that. Even though everyone thinks that we are like a crazy fanatics about we are, but we don't have that kind of culture. If you are going to step on in every national team match, it doesn't matter. Like we were talking about any sport, people are not like having this culture of like being dressed in like the national colors, or like having specific songs. We are cheering for the clubs on the highest level. Yeah. We're talking Red Star and Partizan, then there is nobody better than us in that way,
Yeah, that's why I'm a little bit surprised by what you just tell us.
Yeah, people don't know that. That's for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. Because especially if we're looking into the arenas, as you just said, on club level, and I mean, you don't have to just limit that to Serbia. Look into the Veszprem arena. Once that Veszprem is playing at home, the whole arena is dressed in red. But what is missing there to pull that one over to the national team?
Honestly, nobody's even talking about that. If you believe me, I mean, this has never been a topic, indeed, nowhere. But it's just a common thing. Wherever you go, it's very peaceful and it's very calm. Only when there is some extra difficult situation on the court because of the referees or maybe intense situations, then you can hear the Serbian audience much more. But when we are talking about the regular matches, you can go and watch every match. You will not find the cheering for the national teams or like, for example, special songs. Mm-hmm. We do have like 2 or 3 songs, but we don't have like a fan culture cheering for the national team. That's definite. I mean, the guys played now, we played before. Basketball had the same, football had the same. It's pretty peaceful because we don't have a group of the people who are cheering exactly for the national team. It's mostly the club level. And I'm really, let's say, sad. Compared to Croatia, for example, they're much better in that way. Like they are supporting in a completely different way, I would say.
Yeah, understandable, because from German glasses, I'm a lot with the German national team in football. We have the same issue, basically, so that it's not sexy to support the national team there. What I personally feel is a little sad there too, and I had it a little later on the agenda, but we can pull that one ahead, because Martin, in Denmark, that's a complete different topic. So how do you arranged that to actually achieve a supporting culture around the national team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Denmark invented handball, so in that sense, it's also something that people are very interested in. And
Yeah, I mean,
and
Sweden invented
along
IKEA as well, but nobody is running around with an IKEA jersey.
no, that's true. But alongside with having very good results throughout the years, and especially the last 2 decades, Denmark and the size of the country that we're having, I believe they also have done something about it in boxing. We saw a stand only with where people were standing up, and the rest of the arena was sitting down because Andrea was saying that she would like more of the dressing out from people and going in the colors or whatever. And I want that more intensity of people standing up and screaming and whatever. And I don't know if I'm bringing it up too early, but there was also episodes about people complaining about Denmark's fans was booing or whistling, which I think is I don't even know what word to put to it, but that was nothing. And there's a difference in the way that you're doing it. And I have to say, the ones that think that's too much, I believe they should go to a Balkan arena or something else like that.
On
And
the club
people,
level competition.
Exactly, because what they're experiencing there at club level, but obviously Denmark throughout the years is supporting. So the thing about club teams is that somebody can, be a fan of GOG and Aalborg, but when it comes to national team, people are coming together about it. And when you're very good at it, and I think the events, also the fan zone that we had at the European Championship was very good. So there's something for the kids, for the families, which is primarily also the spectators in Denmark. And I don't know if there are that many family kids going to the Balkan arenas. It's more like, the hardcore people. Can I say it's more like a religion to them?
No. You're half, I would say. Okay. There are many kids, many kids. But the thing is also you pick. Nowadays it's much calmer than it was years before. You would say that it would be risky to take a kid or something like that. Now, not that much, honestly. Yeah. So I think everything is regular. In that way, they're even splitting the matches with the fans. Sometimes you have only Red Star, sometimes you have only Partizan fans. So there are not so many. I don't remember when was the last time, and I hope I'm not gonna call it for the future. But it's for sure a more like, let's say, a bigger tradition in Denmark than in Serbia for families, 100%.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, talking about that, talking about the fans that are coming into the Balkan arenas, Andrea, if you would have to define like the target audience, who is going to the arena in Belgrade, for instance?
We're talking about first, I would say it's watching handball. We are talking watching handball fans, like a true handball fans. We treat it like also next to the family, friends, and all the others, But mostly I would say that if we should talk about the Balkan fan, I think it's cheering means or you're part of some community. You are that's part of your identity. That means that you are loyal. That means that you defend your club with whatever you have. You're never tired fighting with another one. Mm-hmm. Like that's the thing that you are most proud of when you talk like a real hardcore fans. Usually there is always a thing of competition. Always about the trophies, and we are talking between the clubs. The national team, we don't have that strong base, as I said it. So I cannot when I talk about a typical national team fan, that's a person who is not often dressed in a national team t-shirt. They're more like a basic style of dressing, for example, for the matches. Pretty calm ones, which I don't support much. I would like even for them to boo, like Martin said, like Danish. But what I miss truly in our culture is like more visual effects on the matches. I would like to have more like zones like Martin had for the kids, for the families, where people can see some interest on bringing the children to the matches and making everything more fun for them. So I'm missing more fun. I don't think it's hard to organize it. I mean, you need to copy and to learn from the best in that way. I just think that that's not a culture, because I have been a part of one NBA match now. Of course, they are, the highest possible level of having fun on the match. But that's the thing, you don't have to use all the possible financial assets to provide the fun for the match. We don't have the vision about that. And this is what we are truly missing, because how to bring and how to call the people for the matches if you don't offer them something which is going to be interesting for them to see. Mm-hmm. So they need a content So we are missing the content before and after the matches. Even in the halftime, it could be much better. So we could be more visible and to be more present in the media also, of course, from the marketing point of view. We all know that we live in Instagram and TikTok times. And I think we are behind. We are way behind from the serious handball nations. Trying to do, honestly, we are working around that. So it's not that we are not. We just need, of course, some time. But there is a big idea about that because if we want to create the fan zone, you have to, what Denmark and Germany are doing, you are constantly making animation with the fans. Mm-hmm. And constantly you're searching for the content between the fans and the audience, the players. And this is what I like. You need to provoke them and to give them some content so they can react to that.
Mm-hmm. Martin, you looked like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, it's just that I believe it's very important that we are not only thinking about the product whenever we need to offer something related to the fans. And when I speak about the product, I mean the 2 times 30 minutes that's on the court is also something around the game. And what Andrea just spoke about, the fan zone is exceptional, what was there, but in general, something like that. And the key word in Denmark, whenever you grow up and you start playing handball, it's like, it's not about being competitive or about winning the games. It's just about having fun. Are you having fun whenever you go to the handball?
Yes.
That's the most important ones. And we have a lot of talks about, players being very good when they're, let's say, 10 years old. And then you can do something against that as an opponent, but do you want to ruin that individual's development, or do you want to look at it as a team? Do you want to play for the result, or do you want to, in those age groups, you don't look for the results. If you ask me, you should think about the development, and it's not about winning and losing. Of course, if you can win, then that's important. That comes later, where it becomes very important. But the fun part, and for them to interact and socialize and actually taking step, could be defensively, offensively. That's most important, and that's also how it should be somewhere around the games. It should be fun for them to come there, and they need to associate it with that. So it's in general the entire experience about going to handball and not only the product itself.
Yeah, 100%. So the fun is a topic that we always talk about, especially when we look into the direction of, like, let's say Matthias Gietzel. So the guy that says, well, I'm just a boy who wants to have fun on the court there, and that most definitely is a very important part of the culture on the court, but off the court as well. And I mean, as we have talked about it earlier already, with the club colors that are being worn, especially by the Eastern European clubs, to death, basically. So you can just see it whenever you're in Kielce, you're in Skopje, you're in Belgrade, wherever you are. You just see that everybody dresses up there to the highest standards, and it impresses me very, very much because, well, of course, in Germany, when Kiel is playing, the people are likely to wear the club colors, but it's not like the whole arena is dressed in white. And that unity that is felt in between the fans and the club, is it lived more in the Balkan states than anywhere else in the world?
This, I think yes. I mean, if I can say, but I do think it's a life of that or that thing for the fans. It's really, I mean, when you're growing up, since I remember that my family was cheering for Red Star. This, like, it's a thing of like a family tradition, call it like that. And it's always funny if some member of the family is cheering for the other team. That's kind of almost impossible. It happens, but you're sort of from family to family. It goes like this. But there are positive and negative sides of this, because they can be the best fans in the world, but they can be very harsh to the athletes. So usually we had Nikola Jokic, as a famous basketball player, who said, like, we don't love basketball, we only love to win. So there is a huge question mark, what does it really means, but there is some truth in that one for sure. But for me, I'm sad that I never played in a club in my own country who had that kind of fans, because I would love to feel it. I think I played handball that long because this was bringing me so much of joy and happiness. I always loved full arenas wherever I played. Like, I always liked to see fire on the stands. against me or for me or cheering for my team or opponent, doesn't matter for me. But definitely playing, I would say, in Balkan for some like Red Star Partizan or the other clubs, it's a thing of honor. So, and these players are remembered forever. So they're carrying a sort of weight, on their shoulders, because they're never forgotten. That's so interesting. You can show up after 15, 20 years, they're still like, your name, like you're not going to be forgotten. So you better be good. That's the thing in playing in Balkan. But as I said, it's a thing of identity, definitely. Completely.
One quick question to that. Where do you still receive most of the love when you go back?
Honestly, I had really, like you said in the beginning, I had really amazing connection with the fans because I always think it was mutual, and I always try to give my best to them, but not, as Martin said, as a product 2 times 30, because I was always staying after the matches and I was there before the matches for them. Those people deserve it. So wherever I played, basically I had a really good, let's say, contact with the fans. And it would be not fair to say that they were different, I would say, but it would not be fair to say where I felt the best. Maybe Vardar was the hardest type of fans. Like they were really cheering. They had a tradition for the club. And Ferencvaros was always like also these very tough football fans. So you could hear very loud support if we can recall the Final Four moment. But for example, your fans were more polite. They're calmer than the Ferencvaros fans, They're calmer. Then Krim fans, they're really polite. You would never hear nothing bad, They were like blindly supporting the team. So I think it's also like when you're talking, I have to also touch this subject. It's important for all the players who are playing for some club. It's important to give 5 minutes to them after the match. For someone, this means a world. And for some kid, this is like a fulfilling of their dreams. People are usually not aware of that, no matter how it sounds. But trust me, adult athletes are not aware of that. But your 5 minutes can mean really a world to some kid or some fan.
And it can change the world for them as well.
Yeah.
So whenever they get that inspiration, maybe they are going to chase their dreams even harder. And I mean, that from the athlete side and maybe from the kids' perspective, but what you have just said with Skopje and the football fans there coming into the arena and cheering as loud as they can, that brings me to the question, is the support always about handball or is it about something more?
I think it's about something more. It's about this what you wear on your chest, mostly. So it's as I told you, I think they're competing with each other even on the match. Who is gonna scream louder? Trust me, it's even that. It's even that between them. Which group is going to be the best group? Because we're talking about the fans. There are different groups in the stands of the fans, and that's also important to mention. It. They're not all united always. So you have the moments that they function together, but there is always like some level of competitions who is going to be the loudest between them. So I mean, they're feeling the true love to the club. So it's not only about when you're talking about the game, they will cheer whatever sport you play. But if it's the same club, the same fans are going to follow. Doesn't matter which sport you're playing. But if that's Vardar, they're going to be on football, basketball, volleyball, handball. So it's not only about the game itself.
Yeah, fair enough. But I do get you into the direction of making yourself unpopular now. Which club has the best fans?
Which club has the best fans? I will tell that for me, the biggest impressions playing for any club, like I'm talking about the Final Four edition because it's the biggest number of fans, for example, had the Ferencvaros that year when we qualified for the final. That was crazy beautiful. And for me, it was completely mind-blowing seeing them behind the goal in that number. So I think they are very, very tough fans. So I would say that they are good ones, but I would put them in the same basket, honestly, with the Vardar fans. Somewhere there together. If you can see now and see Vardar and the guys, you can see the fans on the stands. I think you can feel it.
Especially in Vardar with the committee, the organized fan group that they have.
Exactly.
Do you actually feel that on the court when there's active support, when there's a group of people that organizes themselves?
Of course. I have always felt it. When I step into the arena, I even know where the people are sitting. So usually, when you're getting used to the arena, you usually know even how everything functions. So, but what I like active fans. I like the people who are contributing to the result, as you say, especially in a tense moments. I think really it helps a lot with the booing and screaming and making a harder life for the opponent. So I do feel it.
And I mean, Martin, hearing all that, is that comparable at all to Danish club perspective? How fans are supporting Danish clubs?
No, not at all. But I wish it was more similar to the Balkan style sometimes, and that's why I also said earlier about the booing. But we can maybe speak about that later. But
No, you
there
can
are
jump in there.
Yeah, but first of all, related to your question, I don't believe there it is with Denmark. I mean, there are some clubs in GOG where all the youth teams are gathered together in a corner and they start singing and shouting and doing their thing with drums. And also in Mors Thy, they're doing it. Skjern is doing it. Different clubs in Denmark that have youth teams where actually, let's take Emil Bergholt, who's playing for the national team. He used to be in the stands, supporting the senior team when he was younger. And some of them, the dreams for them is to play for the senior team. So that's how it is in Denmark. But I wrote it down even to speak about because it is different cultures. Because for me, when I think about Balkan style, it's a non-stop chanting, or singing, if you can put it like that. It's drums, maybe flags, maybe even more than that, maybe flares sometimes that are not that much allowed in handball arenas, but it is there, and it's fans standing up the
For a
entire
reason,
time.
by the way.
I know. It's just that they're standing up the entire match. Where in Denmark, you can put it in somewhere. It's more coordinated when clapping and singing. Hey, there's a goal. Now we clap. Like for Balkan, it's like, no, I'm not only clapping when there's a goal. It's because they're supporting their teams, and even in Denmark, I would say sometimes you can clap when the opponent's in offense because there was a great song and people is like, ooh. And for me, I don't like it. Stop it. Come on, you're there to support your teams, then support it, and that's what leads me to the next topic in terms of booing. Because as long as you're booing and you're not booing towards a specific person because you don't like him or whatever, unless he has done something that's very, very rude or inappropriate, then, I mean, they are not booing because it's Germany or because it's Iceland or because it's France. They're booing because they want to help their own team. Let's say Denmark in this case. They were booing because it helped Denmark and gave them a boost. So the players know that they are behind them. They didn't boo because it was Germany and we don't like Germany. They didn't boo because it's France. There's nothing to do with the opponents. It's about supporting your own team. And for me, that's a big difference. Are you supporting your own team, or are you actually against the other ones? And somebody would now say, but when you're booing, you are against the others. No, it doesn't work like that to me. I mean, they're not saying, words and things that you're not allowed to say. It's a boo and it's a whistling. They're used to it, the players. And I believe, even if I remember the arenas that I only played in, they're not the biggest ones, but when people were booing at me, it gave me a boost. I even wanted to show even more that I could score goals, and when people were against me. So it's also a matter of, Andrea touched it a little bit earlier, how do you control, being in playing away? Can you control your feelings around it, even when people are saying something towards you? So yeah, maybe there was a lot of topics, but that's how I feel about booing. And Danish fans, and maybe also German one, but Germans, they always sold out at every game. They're very loud, but in general, I feel like they're very polite, if you can put it like that. And being polite is nice, but you can still be
doesn't
polite
help
and
much
support your
to the
team.
players. You want to say that?
And I believe you can do it in a polite way, supporting your team, and then still,
Boo, but
how do I
very
say that?
polite boo.
Yeah. But as I said, they're not booing because they don't like Yuri Knorr. He's playing in Aalborg. They're booing because now Yuri Knorr is playing against Denmark. And do we want Denmark to win over Germany? Yes. If that helps our team with 1% about us doing boo, then come on. I mean, people are, I don't know how to say it, but they're walking in two little shoes here, if you can put it like that, when it comes to this topic. It's my personal opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, lucky us that you told us about your competing schedule this summer. So I know what my favorite hobby
Bring
is
it
going to
on.
be throughout the summer, traveling behind Martin Vilstrup and booing him wherever he steps on the court. No, just kidding.
But I want to ask you,
Yeah.
Bengt, something, because you were a part of the fan group, no? You were even the leading group, no? How does it feel? Did you get the impact that you wanted? Or it was like the feeling that it was not enough?
It's a difficult topic with the German football national team because the one thing that we are missing as fans is the unity in between the team and the fans. So what you were talking about, it's not about personal feelings there from my side. I don't need to go out on a coffee date with the players every 3 weeks. It's just about feeling that you get something back from the players. So, especially the last game that we attended, we stood there 90 minutes in the rain and were yelling the hell out of our bodies. And after the match, the German national team just passed by at the penalty box, and you were just feeling left behind as a fan, and that demotivates you a lot to cheer for the team in the same manner that you did before. So the way that you describe it, it's super important, especially from the fan perspective, to keep the motivation high, because I am there because I love what I'm doing, but it's about the 20,000 other people that are in the arena that will feel completely more motivated to cheer for the team whenever the players are around, and whenever the guys that they are there for give them some love back. So I do agree with you 100% that it's a matter of mutual respect. That's the way that I would put it here.
But what is interesting, players they want to have a support, no? They want to have a sport. That's interesting. But they're not ready to give it in return. So it's a good question for them. It's like, do you want to have empty stands? No, we don't want to have empty stands to play in front of empty stands, no?
Yeah.
But then you have to contribute something. I understand that sometimes when you lose, it's not easy. But it's also part of the game. People are giving the money to watch you at the end, no?
Yeah. And I
At
mean,
the end,
it's not
and
just...
they are there with the heart, not to like make your life harder. They want to make your life nicer. They want to enjoy. They want to help you win. So in that way, it's as you said. I mean, completely agree. It's a mutual.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not just about the entrance prices. It's about traveling a lot as well, and going behind the team and standing there whatever happens. But that's a different topic for football, what it's not supposed to be about. Yeah.
I agree, but also taking your time off, and the players need to ask themselves, what are they contributing back with to the fans in order for them to cheer for you and not only the product. I mean, I believe that I can only say for the Danish players, but in general, I want to say that handball players are very good at clapping back and being there and appreciating it more than football players can do whenever they are losing or whatever. But I also believe that it's easier access to handball players. Whenever the national team plays in Denmark, they need to go out after and write the autograph, and if it takes 1 hour, then it takes 1 hour to do so. And we need these kind of role models, as you also, both of you, touched earlier, that they can look up to in terms of people that wants to play handball, but also for it to be likable, to have, you said Gitzel at the moment, that he's available. I know it's tough for him, but that he's making himself available. It could be Mikkel Hansen, Niklas Landin, Emil Nielsen, the biggest players, because those are the smallest, or the younger generation are looking up to. And I believe in that sense, then not Denmark, handball in general is doing good. With that, that's where I believe handball and football is very, very different also. And there's also a difference because if I go to a club game, then the spectators of that club will have songs towards the other club. But when you go to a national team game, they don't have a song together about Denmark towards Croatia or whatever. It's rather songs about how good are Denmark, or some, as Andrea said, songs that we sing together whenever it's played in the speakers or whatever. But it's very important with role models.
Yeah, fair enough. Then let's stick it there at the Danish fans because, well, to put it in a very positive manner, Denmark loves to celebrate. Denmark loves to celebrate the good actions on the court, and they have been flattered with that throughout the last years. But maybe to put it more precisely, Martin, what does a Danish handball fan value? Is it more the individuals or is it more the tactics?
I actually believe it's obviously the team that they're supporting and also the individuals within the team. But here in Denmark, we have a strong local loyalty. So if you are from somewhere and you are, even though that you're living somewhere else, you're supporting that team and you're doing whatever you can to support it. Let's take an example that while we're recording here today, I know that I only played 4 years for GOG, but I was thinking about driving 2.5 hours to watch GOG play against Nantes tomorrow. It's 9:15, and I will be home around midnight, if not later, and then to wake up next day. People are willing to. It doesn't sound much to drive 2.5 hours. In Denmark, this is far. I just wanted to put it out there because in other countries it's not that much. But
in other countries you could walk that distance.
Exactly. But the local loyalty is extreme, and they appreciate the persons coming there and. Also, some of the values that some of the clubs are standing for, people are supporting, and they have a strong, can you say, sponsorship also from local peoples. It's family friendly. In GOG, whenever you grow up and you're 4 or 5 years old, and in the local city, because there are not that many people living there. If you don't know where your kids are, you go to the arena or the hall because they are there. They just walked over there. They didn't need to tell you. So, in that sense, can you get some kind of connection also to
because you don't have much sun? That's the problem. So people are going to the hall. It's raining. It's all about they love handball. It's like raining. You cannot go outdoors. They're like, let's go to the arena. Like on Faroe, the doors are open.
No, but okay, maybe there's something about that. But it's very family friendly and inclusive also in general, and the experience around the games. So I believe that's what Denmark does very well. Even though I would like to have more of this kind of ultra atmosphere sometimes, because as I said earlier, often it's coordinate clapping and chants. But I would say the most important word for me is strong local loyalty is the one that pops out when I think about the fans in Denmark and maybe also in general.
Yeah, fair enough. So that maybe to lead us over to the German fan culture there as well a little bit, because in Germany we always, whatever sports there is, we have 80 million Bundestrainer. So we have 80 million coaches around there who know everything better. So whatever the coach does, everybody has got their opinion. How are the talks on the Danish stance there? So is it similar that everybody has got their opinion and knows what to do better?
Obviously, there will always be people having opinions there, but I don't believe it's that extreme as it is with Germany. Mostly, it's when it's not going in a right direction. People are always saying about, why don't they do that? Or they already figured out what to do against Gitzel. Why is he not doing like that? And then 20 minutes later, Gitzel scored 7 goals and it proved that they didn't. Or they believe in Nikolaj Jakobsen. And I think that when people also showed their quality and what they're capable of, then it's a matter of just, doing your best by supporting them. And I don't believe you support somebody when you're actually complaining or telling them what they are doing wrong. But I don't believe it's as extreme in Denmark as it is in maybe other countries. I don't know if we have more of this familiar feeling also when it comes to Faroe Island. You saw it with respect to Iceland, that the nation gets together and even though they may not get as good as results as Denmark, we still have it. I don't believe there's not much complaining about Nikolaj Jakobsen. He showed himself pretty well. He's performing very good. And also on the women's team, if we need to speak about that also. I don't see it as a big problem. But there will always be people that are very clever behind the computer or, far
even
up
when they have a
stands.
remote, I think those are the smartest
Exactly.
people who are just showing themselves in front of the TV, having a remote control in their hands, and they're the best coaches ever. So, I mean, that
those
also
are the
turns
people
you
that
on,
we're talking to right now.
Yeah.
That's me now.
Yeah, And I
And
know
you
I will
also,
sit sometimes myself
course.
that, oh, how can he miss empty goal? Wow. But come on, it's a part of also the sport that some people are actually making mistakes. And if we could predict what would happen all the time, the sport would be very boring. So sometimes people will make mistakes, but it's a part of the game. You need to understand it's very intense, but people are not trying to become the coach at all because as it is by now in Denmark, but we also is a special case.
in Serbia, there's so many coaches. I mean,
Yes, Zagreb, the club team. I would believe that the many know what to do there because they're changing clothes more frequently than people are changing underwear.
I mean that's because it's boring, so they want to have something like a flow.
Okay.
Yeah, fair enough. But it's interesting that you said that it's almost the same topic in Serbia there too, because I do feel like moving over to Germany, you can even feel that in the arena. So when the arena is not happy with the coach's choice with some players, that the arena is getting really, really, not to say unstable, but unhappy with the performance on the court. Would you say German fans, Andrea, are more critics than fans?
Maybe they have more knowledge. Let's call it
Maybe
like
they
that.
do.
Than
Maybe they
Danish
don't.
fans, for example. No, I'm joking, but it's. I mean, you feel it more for sure than me. But I can make, let's say, a same picture here in Serbia. There are so many coaches on the stands, and sometimes I do feel a less support than let's say. I don't want to be harsh now, but then it's sometimes really hard for them to understand that, especially talking about handball, we need to get much better condition and we need to get players who are playing in the better clubs in Europe in order to have success. They don't have patience, I would say. In Serbia, we are a nation with a low patience when we are talking about the results, and completely, as I told you, not realistic in some moments. So that's why I think that we have a lot of experts thinking that they know better for sure. But my always thing is like, I always ask all the, let's say, people who are ready to speak out loud, and I was like, then why you didn't try yourself outside of our country? Because Serbia is not the best one for the handball results, talking about the club level. Usually people are ready to brag and talk about that, but not ready to try themselves outside of their comfort zone, in reality. So it's much easier to commentate than to do it by yourself. And I always say it's really hard when there is a negative hype about something on the stands. It's really hard to stop it in one way, because nowadays everything is hype. Proven or not, or like realistic or not realistic, but it's really not easy when there are many false informations nowadays and fans are getting them a lot, so sometimes it really can create a very toxic environment.
But I mean, that topic that you're talking about, it's a little bit about development too. So development in the arenas, being professional, having professional surroundings there too. And that's what I feel where handball is developing to in Germany still. So everything is about getting cleaner arenas with more technique in there and the best vision for the fans. But what's your opinion on that? Does the professionalization take away a little bit of the dirt of the handball culture, speaking in a very, very positive way?
I mean, maybe a bit, but still, I don't think that's the primarily. It's important to fill out all the conditions, as you said, like to fulfill it, basically. But it should not be the priority in one way, because handball is not played because of that. And we all know that we can expect a bit dirty environment when you come to a handball match or whatever match you go. So it should not be the focus primarily on that. I would rather call it how to support your team and how to be the best fan on the stands. For me, that would be the right way to go, and for club to take it. Not to talk only about, as you said, the environment, which is not going to bring us the crazy good atmosphere. I would call it like that. This doesn't bring the fire on the stands for sure. It brings that you have a good and nice picture about the club publicly, but in another way, you don't get the crazy good atmosphere on the stands. It's nice to be polite, but as Martin said it, like we need to spice it up a bit.
But there's one thing I actually do believe that Germany is doing well also around the arena, or whenever the players is entering the arena. As Andrea said, sometimes standing in the tunnel and running in is also the matter of lights, music, and also the announcer or the speaker or whatever you call it, he can also, contribute in some arenas for the spectators to light up a little
Can
bit
I interrupt you
sometimes.
for a second? You know who has to be
Yeah.
really good paid person? Like cheerleading mascot. This is what I
Cheerleading, man.
love.
Okay.
Come on,
Okay,
I
that's
mean,
the next
let's
topic.
no,
Yeah.
but it is no.
Yeah, true.
It
but
is
I mean,
important.
But I mean, Martin, what you're just saying there, the guy in the arena with a microphone, the announcer in the arena, when he has the power to loosen up the atmosphere in the arena as well, doesn't that bring us closer to what you described as in Denmark, with everybody clapping on command and just celebrating to the music?
Yeah, it does, but I mean, it's just also about giving a lift. And let's say with a goal that the announcer says, let's say it's Gitzel again, that he says Matthias, and then the rest of the arena shout Gitzel. It's a typical Danish thing to do, and it's like lights them up and even plays a song. But I believe there's also arenas where the speaker maybe takes a little more. A bigger role towards the club than being objective, and try to encourage them maybe also to do it whenever the opponent is in attack. But yeah, in Denmark it's more like that the speaker is doing it whenever there's something good happening. But it's more just the atmosphere around it. Whenever the players enter the court running in, there will be, let's say, fire or great music, and people are standing up. It will give. When I was sitting on the stand, I would feel okay. Yes, come on. Then I would be more ready, to actually do something for the players as well. And also for the players, whenever they score, they need to give something back, shout out to the fans, or, I don't know, touching your badge, your heart, or whatever, not just running back. Obviously, you need to run back if the others are running very fast in the modern handball, but give something back to the audience and the spectators. It will be very, very much appreciated. So yeah, that's something they also need to think about if they have the air and the power to do it.
I mean, that is everything a little part of the eventization of that whole handball game, and I personally feel like bringing it more into an event style takes away the real fan identity. So if you look into the Balkan fan groups, you always have a guy with a megaphone in the stands there. And Andrea, would you say that it's more native coming from him other than the announcer?
Yes, I would say, and he knows how to lead the group. For me, that's completely different. They're completely different in the way how they support the team, how they cheer for the team. First, the announcer, he's not allowed. Maybe he would do that, but he needs to be polite in let's say 2 times 30 minutes period. But I would say for the main guy, the main cheerleader, I would call it like that, he needs to be harsh. He needs to be harsh. In a Balkan, that's how it is, and I do think that.
How would he like it that you call him the cheerleader?
I would not call that, but you know what I mean, like a fan leader, or call it like that.
I know.
Yeah. But he basically needs to be. He needs to feel the moment. I think that's how they choose them, indeed. And I think in a Balkan, he really has some huge and a big dose of respect of the whole group, fan group. So I do think that they are also the strongest physically.
But yeah, but the times that I've been in Flensborg, I also believe they have it in Flensborg, this kind of, can you say, fan coordinator, or the Danish word is capo for it, the one standing there in front and actually, most of the game he has his back to what's going on the court, but he's more focusing on the fans there. But obviously that's the best case scenario, but that's where handball in general is missing. If you look at the general picture and overall, that there will be an interest about, doing this, because in general we're very polite, and that's the general thing whenever you're entering. You don't have that. It's not like if you can sit as an away spectator. I can go to Magdeburg and support Kiel, and I can sit in between 10 Magdeburg fans without nothing happening. I'm not saying it's supposed to happen something, but in
Serbia,
other
you can't.
sports. Yeah, okay, in Serbia you can, but you have to divide it up, and it's the same in Denmark, but Balkan countries are different. So, a mix of these two things together, then maybe that will also do what you were asking about, Bengt, because that would be nice to have,
That's really the
songs,
best one.
chants.
Should we implement the NBA style of when they score and how they cheer for each other on the bench and these kind of things? Would you think that that would be a bit more hyped, I would say, in handball? But we are getting this more and more, I think. We are getting more players like being open to the fans with a different sort of reaction. That's my feeling, that they are more, let's say, open to celebrate it on a bit more emotional way. That's my feeling.
But yeah, another topic for me is, maybe, I don't know if we are done with this one because I'm switching around it, but I heard a lot of times that especially women are saying size doesn't matter, and that's also the same when it comes to capacity of the arenas, because there can be some arenas where there's only 500, 1,000, and that can sound like
Your
even
family-friendly handball podcast. This is The Spin. We talk handball with Martin Vilstrup.
I don't know what people want to hear, but probably we're going to get more audience like now.
That's a nice transition. I thought it was a nice transition. I actually thought about it here, but there will be arenas where there's only 1,000 maybe, and it sounds like there can be 10,000 in those arenas. If we need to compare that also, so the capacity itself doesn't, for me, decide whether it's a good arena or bad atmosphere. It can be 2,000 in there, and it can be a crazy atmosphere, and in some other arenas it can be 12,000. And last game with Vesprem against Aalborg, I didn't have the feeling like the Vesprem fans were that intimidating throughout the game, even though that they normally are. But then going to, I would even say, countries as Greece, Olympiacos, Athens, then Romania also, especially on the women's side with Bucuresti, Rapid, Gloria, and you mentioned Hungary. They know, and they are standing, even at warm-up, they're standing so close to the players and flags.
But I need to tell you one situation. You reminded me now. We were playing like that moment I was playing in Győr, playing against Ferencváros. As you know, the derby, that's the Euro biggest derby, let's call it like that. So we are traveling from Győr to Budapest, in one moment on the light, like the guys jumping on the bus and hitting the glass, And I'm like, okay, what's happening? That's my first match ever playing against Ferencváros, And after that, like 3 hours afterwards, playing on the match, I was sitting on the bench. In that moment, the guy fell out from the stands, Ferencváros fan, on our player down on the bench next to me on her head. I was like, probably he was drinking a bit more in that moment, so he lost his control in one moment, the guy. What? And that's a very peaceful part of the stands, in LA Jewel Arena. But I don't know, he lost his balance, and in one moment the guy was next to us.
He had a little bit too much to drink, I don't know.
Was everybody fine in that situation?
No, she got stuck a bit with the neck. She was like this the next period. But I remember for next 2-3 days, but in that moment we won. So, when you win, you forget everything. But that was one of the most hilarious scenes in my career. I was sitting next to her, the guy, he just dropped like on her, like from like 2 meters probably high or something like that.
Oh, Jesus.
Hilarious.
That's hilarious.
So,
dangerous.
But everything went okay, but just like a story, life.
Yeah, that's it. But then let's close it down here with one question. 29-29, 30 seconds to play, ball in your hands. Where do you want to play, Andrea?
Meaning which club I want to play?
In which arena do you want to have that?
In which
situation?
arena? I would the most tense moment in the arena, I would like to play in Belgrade Arena, back that final, definitely.
Okay, and where don't
that was
you
the
wanna...
moment when I can say all the best about Serbian fans.
Yeah, fair enough, understandable. And where don't you want to play?
Where I don't want to play, it was very tough. For example, playing, I don't know if I can say like that, because I played in some teams, then I play against those teams. I played against Budućnost, the final of the Champions League, 2012, Morača. It was a hell. People were sitting on the stands. So that was the year when Budućnost won it for the first time. Unforgettable atmosphere and the hardest match to breathe on the court. But I loved it. Like, it was beautiful in every way of it.
Fair enough. Martin, from your perspective, where is the worst hell for that situation?
I actually thought about it also, which arenas I would like to go to, and the worst hell that I could imagine if playing a men's game, I would actually say Vara. And I mean it in the best way, because the support is crazy, and the fans can be intimidating. So can you say how do you say that, they're very loud in general, and I mean that's and their approach and the way they I
And
would
they
say
know the
Vada.
handball. They feel the handball. That's
Yeah.
also important.
And they have drums and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
So it would be Vada, Skopje. That's. But as I said earlier, an atmosphere that I would like to experience just as a spectator and go to is not some of these crazy arenas. I would love to go to watch Nantes one day because of all the saxophones and all the things that they are playing. And I just feel like they have in general a very nice, polite atmosphere throughout the game. When I watch it, it's like, okay, it makes me in a good mood actually watching it, and I could believe it's even more incredible when you're there live. So and then there are other arenas I would like to go to in Greece or Romania, but
Yeah, fair
Vada
enough.
for me.
Fair enough. But I mean, what stands beneath it is that what makes this sport beautiful is the fans out there. So thank you guys for making this sport so special. Keep the hype up and keep being individual. So every fan culture definitely has their benefits and adds value to today's game. And that's where we would say thank you for being there and thank you for tuning in. So see you guys the next time when it's time to talk handball again.
Ball across to Dylan Nahi, double in flight. Oh, what a start!
Ooh, into the net.
She does it again. Yes.